Okay, rapamycin actually was made as antifungal antibiotic, and as I told you, the mycin, that means water rate, belongs to the fungus, and it was made for the purpose of being antifungal. But after that, they realized it's acting as an immune suppressant. So immune suppressant, what it does actually is going to suppress the immune system. It's going to bring the immune system down. And what is good about it? Because you know that we don't want to have any weak immune system, but sometimes it's good to actually your immune system get suppressed when the people mostly they do the transplant. Most of the people that they do the transplant, no matter what, is a kidney transplant or any kind of transplant, what it happened, that organ that it comes from another body, our body has started rejecting it. So what we need to actually slow down the immune system. We have to bring this immune system down in order to make that organ stop rejecting. Why? Because the reason of the rejection is immune system. Immune system, when it doesn't recognize something based upon the antigens, start rejecting it, start invading it. And when it start invading it, it can actually even just like make it non-functional, and it just like basically kill that organ, because it's going to go to those tissues and kill those tissues by the beta and the killer cells, which is we call them T cells. So rapamycin was a very important medication in order to reduce the immune system, in order to keep the transplanted organ in its place without any rejected. And what it was doing actually was acting on the mTOR. That's why they call it Mammalian Target for Rapamycin. This is exactly what the name comes from. But this mTOR is very important because what it does, it combines the input with some of the factors, like a growth factor, like a IGF-1, F1, which is IGF-1. It's going to be insulin-like growth factor. IGF-1, which is going to control the growth and also the cell division. So, and what happened, what the actually mTOR does, we have the pathway actually inside the cell called mTOR. I think that I have to clean up a little bit. Let me just clean up the whiteboard a little bit. We're going to keep the isoleucine in the middle. I'm sorry, the leucine. Okay. All right. So what the mTOR does, actually mTOR, we have a pathway inside the cell, which is mTOR IGF-1 AKT. And what is that? This is the enzyme here, is a protein. This is another protein, where this is the hormone. This is a peptide hormone. You know what the peptide is? Peptide, that means like several, peptide is made of the several amino acids that are connected together. That means peptide. And AKT is going to be another enzyme which is important in the growth. So they realize that mTOR IGF-AKT pathway this pathway so mTOR IGF-1 AKT pathway, it's the pathway that it shows the importance of the molecule that we learn how to draw the structure of it, which is leucine. Let me just draw the structure again. Let's see. And here is what we understand the main important thing. So this pathway, what it does actually basically, at the moment that we have so many glucose and in the presence of a lot of amino acid, what it means right here, leucine, what it does, start helping the growth, and it's going to promote the growth of the cell, the immune system, and also because the mTOR can actually sense the cell division and also the taking the nutrient to the cell and also absorption of the nutrient to the cell, better to say. And because mTOR can actually sense the nutrient and oxygen also for the cell, what happened here, this leucine can actually promote the abundance amount of the leucine in that place can promote the growth, especially the growth in the what I call the muscle cells. That's why a lot of people that are taking the leucine supplement in order to have a more what I call it, bigger muscles. And that's because of that pathway, mTOR IGF-1 AKT, which is mTOR IGF-1. It's insulin-like growth factor 1 plus AKT, which is another actually group of the enzymes of the peptide, which is going to help the growth and health and promoting immune system. So that's why it makes the leucine and also isoleucine are two important amino acids in our body. Okay, the next amino acid that we're going to talk about, and this is again is non-polar. Also, it's non-aromatic. There is no chain in it. It calls isoleucine. Isoleucine. So the name is very pretty close to the leucine. What is the difference between the isoleucine and leucine? Almost only the stereochemistry of the leucine. The isoleucine, when it comes to the word right here, is an isomer. So what is the difference with the isoleucine and leucine? The difference, it comes from this iso. Because the thing is, isoleucine is the isomer of the leucine. And if you remember in organic chemistry, isomer, there are the molecules that have like the same formula and the same amount of the atoms and the group, functional groups and everything. Everything is almost the same thing. The only difference is the structure and the position of the atoms. That means how these atoms, especially when you get to the leucine, which is going to be like a kind of three-dimensional type of molecule, and it's very important, and because it's an amino acid, so we have the left-handed and right-handed amino acids. Then we're going to talk about the RNS configuration as well, then in order that you guys understand it better. So it's very important to understand the isomers, and the isomers, the only difference between the molecules that are isomers and the enantiomers, that means like a mirror image of each other. So what happens is that a spatial configuration. That means how the molecules there are connected. For example, if you look at the leucine, we're going to go with the leucine first, and then I'm going to show you exactly what I'm trying to prove to you guys. So you see that here we have the leucine again. I told you two Y's, okay, connected, and you can find it. So the isoleucine, it's the same formula, the same amount of the methyls and ethyl groups and amine group, oxygen, hydrogen, everything is the same. The only difference between the leucine and isoleucine is that here, this methyl group from here, it's gonna move up to here. So what happens, we're gonna have the carboxyl group right here, and then NH2, the same thing. We're gonna keep going with RY, but here, instead of RY, we're gonna leave it like a V, because what happens, this methyl group from here is gonna get disconnected and comes right over here. And this is gonna be isoleucine. This is the molecule of the isoleucine. You see that? That's just the change in the configuration, spatial configuration. That means what happens, this methyl group from here moved up there. That means instead of being connected to this carbon, now it's connected to this carbon. Before it was connected, you see that this is the alpha carbon. Okay, if you look at it right here, and this one after that is going to be this one beta carbon, and this is the gamma carbon. So instead of being connected to the gamma carbon, which is right here, or better to say, for example, if you put the carbon in a number, better not to use these kind of letters. Let's see, if you say carbon number 1, 2, 3, 4 here, before the methyl group was connected to the carbon number 4, now it moved to the carbon number 3. So we see that carbon number 3 is going to grab it. Or if you want to say that, you say it before it was in the alpha and right now in the, but we're not going to use it because we use the alpha and gamma and beta mostly anytime that we have a functional group, like for example, NH2 amine group. So the isoleucine also is very important. I told you is going to make what I call a BCAA with the help of the valine and leucine and isoleucine. It's important again in the growth as a growth factor, and also very, very important in immune system growth because of the factors that we call them beta factors. Beta factors, they're going to help with the adaptive immune system, mostly adaptive immune system and a little bit with the innate, but mostly it's gonna be what I call it, the adaptive immune system. Adaptive immune system, if you want to know that later on, we're gonna make a video about it. It's gonna be all the what I call B cells and T cells and how your body is gonna start making antibodies and what I call it, like making a birth certificate for any virus that it comes inside the cells or inside our body, and then how the T cells, they're going to say that's what I call the adaptive system that we're going to adaptive immune system that we're going to talk about later on. So just you know that isoleucine is very important to help the immune system and also is a part of the BCAA. All right, now we're going to start with one amino acid which is kind of like has a different structure, but still is going to be a non-polar, and it's not part of the aromatic. It's non-aromatic. A lot of people, I think this is going to be aromatic, but this is not aromatic. This is a non-aromatic, and it's called proline. So proline, in order to draw the structure of the proline, it's very easy. The same thing. We're going to start with the carboxyl group. And then when we come here and we want to attach the NH2, we're not going to do that. What we do, we're going to start actually making a pentagonal shape, or better to say the pentagonal ring. How we're going to do that? Like this. We go up here, down, make it a little bit inclined to this side, and this side, and inclined to this side. You see that this is the pentagonal ring. And then what we do, we're going to keep a little bit of area right here. That's a place that our NH2 was supposed to actually get connected. But right now, another part of the N, it's going to be connected. If you put the N right here, the only electron remains for the actually nitrogen is going to be one electron. Why? Because one of them, it goes to this carbon, another one goes to this side of the molecule, and then we're going to remain with one. So instead of NH2, we're going to have a NH. So better to actually make this structure cleaner, it's going to be like this, NH.